Today I'm here to provide an update on the homicide which occurred on Friday evening in the 3000 block of Nicholas Road. I just want to say that the investigation is very new and ongoing, so there's only limited information I can provide. And the purpose of that is that we want our investigation to be as thorough as possible, and I don't want to do anything to compromise that and potentially compromise the justice that we're seeking for our victims. On Friday, October 10th, at approximately 9:30 in the evening, West Patrol District officers were dispatched to the 3000 block of Nicholas Road on a report of a shooting. Montgomery County Regional Dispatch received numerous calls from multiple caller-ins. One of those reported that a baby had been shot at that location. So that's kind of what's going through the officer's mind as they responded out to the scene. So that when they got to the 3000 block of Nicholas Road, they did locate a 5-year-old female who had been shot. They immediately began rendering first aid to that victim. And as those officers were tending to that victim, additional officers located a second victim, the 27-year-old male who had also been shot. That was actually the father of the 5-year-old victim, and he was one of the caller-ins that called into dispatch reporting that shooting. He had a non-life-threatening injury. Both the 5-year-old and the father were removed to the hospital for treatment of their injuries, but unfortunately the 5-year-old did not survive. A vehicle was towed from the scene to be processed for forensic evidence. On-scene officers located numerous gunshot holes inside that vehicle, so they towed that so it could be processed. Initial investigation has discovered that the father had just placed his child in the back seat, in the child safety seat, buckled her in, and then got in the vehicle, started the vehicle. And as soon as he started the vehicle and was preparing to leave, that's when the suspect or suspects opened fire on the vehicle, striking it numerous times. He attempted to exit the vehicle to grab his child to run inside for safety. Unfortunately, he didn't make it inside before she was struck and succumbed to her injuries. The male victim is in stable condition, is expected to make a recovery from his gunshot. At this time, the homicide unit is investigating the incident. We ask that anyone in the community that have any sort of information, however big or small, come forward with that information. What we don't want to see, and how so often happens, is that they hold that information, they use it on their own to get their own sort of street justice, and then they kind of perpetuate this cycle of violence in the community. So that's what we want to avoid. We want them to come forward with that information so that we can use it and get justice for this victim. This incident is obviously extremely tragic. It's tragic for the family. It's tragic for the officers that had to respond to this and render first aid to this 5-year-old. And it's just tragic to the community, those that live and work in this community, that they have to put up with this kind of violence. So again, we ask for any information that the community might have, come forward with that information so we can use that to seek justice.
Lieutenant, so your belief now is that he was actually out of the vehicle with his daughter and trying to make it into the house when she was struck?
We don't know at what point she was struck, whether it was inside the vehicle or out. We do know gunfire erupted when she was sitting in the vehicle and he was getting ready to leave. He tried to leave. Gunfire continued, so it's possible, she got struck outside the vehicle, but that did occur.
Would that suggest that you mentioned that there were several shots that had hit the vehicle, or someone located near where she might have seated?
Yeah, I mean, the vehicle was struck numerous times, so that's why we towed the vehicle for forensic evidence. We'll get more details once we can place the shots and find out exactly where that happened.
Any idea where the shots may have been coming from, street side or house side, sidewalk side, or something that would be able to determine if it was a drive-by shooting or if someone ran up to them?
Yeah, that information will be part of the forensic investigation. We have multiple evidence crews that process that scene, and they'll be able to look at shell casings and piece those together with where the vehicle was struck, and that'll all come out as part of the investigation.
So at this time, there are no suspects in mind?
No known suspects at this time, yeah. So that's why we're relying heavily on the community. People talk, even if it's a small piece of information that they may not feel is important, we would just ask that they come forward with that, because that might be the piece of the puzzle that helps us solve this case.
Lieutenant, any reports of vehicles leaving the area right after that gunfire or anything like that?
We'll look at that. I mean, the detectives interviewed a lot of people on scene, and as they compile that evidence, we'll kind of piece that together.
There was a shooting that occurred just about a mile away on Alvin Avenue the night of September 14th.
Yes.
Killing a 17-year-old, same neighborhood.
Correct.
any thought of a connection or an increase in violence in that area?
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously looking at that as you know, whether it's related at this time. That would be, again, part of the homicide investigation that just started Friday evening. But any sort of pattern of violence or additional homicides in a neighborhood, we'll look at that, and we'll look at what kind of patrol measures we can put in place to, you know, whether we need, you know, different strategies to try to combat that.
Is this still, in terms of forensics, is it known whether this was like a semi-automatic type of weapon or if it was something more like a pistol used?
At that time, I cannot release the information.
Did you find more than one type of shell casing either in the car or at the home?
Again, that's not something I'm prepared to release at this time.
The father did not fire any shots back towards his attackers.
Yeah, at this time, we have no evidence to show that he, you know, returned fire. It appears to be a one-way shooting.
Okay.
Would that also suggest that he was or was not armed, or is that something unknown?
I'm not prepared to release that information at this time.
You brought up a point that, you know, that this is tragic for the community, you know, tragic for those that were involved. But I'm sure you know, here at this department, there's family members that have young kids, you know, and for them to respond to a situation like this, I mean, it's got to be a gut punch to the stomach when they're responding and seeing someone around their age or people that have, you know, the staff that have here that have kids, you know, around that age that, you know, when they respond to it or knowing that, you know, this could have been, you know, them as well.
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely affects, you know, officers that have to respond, the dispatchers that have to take those calls, you know, the medics. It hits everybody. It's tragic, you know. 5-year-old, no one wants to see that happening, and it's something that they have to, you know, carry with them, but still at the same time go about and continue to do their job and take the next call and handle it as professionally as possible. So it's difficult.
Got time for 2 more questions.
Lieutenant, do you believe that either that car or that man was the target of the gunfire? In other words, if they didn't have either the wrong house or they just hit the wrong car as they were trying to get a house next door?
That again will be part of the investigation. You know, see if we can determine the motive of this and figure out who the shooters were.
Is there a mother involved in the matter at all? In terms of the father, the child's general life, or is that not known?
I don't know at this time. I can't really comment on that.
I'm seeing also on social media that, you know, they've identified who the young girl is. Have you confirmed or prepared to release the name of the young girl?
At this time, no. I'm not prepared to release that.